Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you again for attending this forum. This would be the 11th open forum that I am having at City College of San Francisco. And most probably this is the last one too, because I don't think I will have one in June, as most of you will be on vacation, and I will not be available after that following June 30th. That's my last day, will be June 30th. And I have informed the president of the board, President Williams, that I will not be staying any longer than that. And I'm not interested in staying for the interim period while the search for the permanent chancellor goes on. So perhaps this might be the last one. And I have a lot of information to share with you. As you all know, I want to be mindful that today is the International Earth Day. More than 1 million people worldwide will engage in climate action. Here in San Francisco, we stand on the occupied land of the Ohlone people. In Native American culture, the earth is a living and breathing being that we must bow down to and respect. Let's all do our part to respect Mother Earth every day. I would like to start my updates today with what we have been doing in outreach and marketing. And I have heard a lot about, do we have a marketing plan? What have we been doing in marketing to attract more students? I want to remind you that Director Zepeda, Rosie Zepeda, who joined us, I think in November of last year, has been working very hard to make many things happen. She is a one-person operation. She doesn't have a staff. She doesn't have anybody working with her. In most other colleges, the size of City College, there would be an office with a staff of about up to 10 people working in that. But she's doing everything by herself. She does graphics for the college, videos, messaging, internal and external communications, weekly letters, city notes, etc. And over the past 3 months, there has been an ad hoc marketing committee that had been meeting. And the purpose of that meeting was the rebranding of the college and outreach. Most of the members of the ad hoc committee are faculty, as well as staff and a couple of administrators. Since last December, we have had a consistent digital marketing and promotion of our brand, of the college services and the various programs. It takes a long time, and yet that office has been working hard to get as much out as possible. We do know that the Facebook outreach for City College, which was at about 17,000, just 17,000 people logging onto the Facebook page of the college. Over the past few months, that number has gone on to 92,000. LinkedIn for City College of San Francisco now has a following of 50,000 alumni. In late March, the alumni campaign featuring our various programs and disciplines was launched. It has been very successful, and the reach has been more than 100,000 followers over the various platforms. That would be Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and so on. There was also a web advisory committee that has been meeting. And that committee has worked very hard to redo the MyCCSF page. And later on during the program today, if we have an opportunity, you will get to see what this MyCCSF new page looks like. And here I want to give a special thank you to our webmaster, JC O'Donnell, who has been working on the web matters for some time now. If you go to our main CCSF page, you will see the first of the 5-part messages of the new branding of the college. All this work has been done in the marketing committee with the support of that committee. Just last week, the committee took one of the branded messages and expanded it to a postcard. That postcard will be shown in 3 different languages: English, Spanish, and Chinese. It will also have a QR code. The committee will be presented with the final draft this Friday, and once that is done, the postcard will be ready for printing and mailing. As you know, there have been many calls to have the postcard printed in-house. But you also have to realize that the machines that we have that can do this have not been in operation for more than a year. And those machines will need recalibration. That recalibration in itself takes about a week or so. So henceforth, everything will be done outside of the college. We will be getting 3 bids for the production of the postcard, and then purchasing will make the final decision on probably the lowest bid. The goal is to print the postcard before the end of next week, and the mailing will take place during the 2nd week in June. We are also working with the city to have the city market the college and its programs to its about 39,000 city employees. We have also been working with SEIU, and SEIU has promised that they would market all the programs of the college to all their membership in the San Francisco area. We are also looking at PSA's, public service announcements in English, Cantonese, and Spanish on our local radio stations. So these are some of the things that the college has been doing, in addition to, as you will hear later on from Vice Chancellor Lisa Cooper Wilkins and Vice Chancellor Vogel, on what else we have been doing to help with enrollment. This takes me to the registration update, and here too we have great news. Rocky the Ram, perhaps many of you have seen Rocky the Ram. Rocky the Ram is our new chatbot, and Rocky the Ram is up to 600 questions that Rocky the Ram can answer for you. Students and community are interacting with this feature as though it was a real person, which indicates that this chatbot is doing a great job. We are getting phone calls from departments asking us to place it on their unique web pages. And the goal is to have Rocky the Ram capable of answering about 1,000 questions before the college, the fall semester starts. Admission and Records is working closely with ITS to make more than 30 improvements to the college scheduler and the MyRAM student portal to enhance student registration and experience. Examples include, but are not limited to, by clicking student registration on the student portal, it will take students directly to college scheduler. A new link was created on the student portal menu for quick access to student registration information, hold information, and placement results. We've added additional language to make everything clearer so that students do not have a problem as they are registering. And I'm going to ask Vice Chancellor Wilkins if the student who was working with Associate Vice Chancellor Ellen Race is available to say briefly some of the work that she has done?
Okay, I need to ask if our student Charmaine is in the audience, and she will need to be brought over. So let me double check. Sean, are you seeing her in the audience?
I am not seeing Charmaine right now.
Is Ellen Race there? Ellen Race, ABC Ellen Race is there?
Ellen is, yes.
Yeah, so maybe Ellen could tell us briefly.
Oh, sorry, it's Michaela. Sorry.
Okay.
It's Michaela.
Okay, Michaela. All right.
That's my fault.
No problem. Sean, you have Michaela. Can Michaela join us?
Yeah.
All right.
There you are.
All right,
Sorry about
Michaela
that,
Contreras, good afternoon and welcome. You mind telling us a little bit about some of the things you've done with the chatbot and registration?
Yes, so with the chatbot, I actually gave a lot of feedback when it first was being developed. So I actually tested it when I first was hired as a student worker. And I wrote a lot of comments on improvements and how it can basically benefit students more. So should I share my screen for an example or?
No, you can just tell us briefly. I mean, give us one example. That'll be great.
Okay, perfect. So one question I actually would ask it is how to sign up for classes. And the chatbot actually gave an in-depth, step-by-step, really short, easy description on how to sign up and pick classes. And it would also give you the link to the CCSF webpage on how to register for classes. And on that webpage itself, it would give you another step-by-step instructions on how to sign up for classes.
Mikhail, let me ask you one last question. And I want to thank you for everything that you've said. How difficult or how easy is it for students to sign up for classes at CCSF?
Well, now I would say it is so much easier. This is actually my last semester at City, so I'm really sad that now that the system has been improved so much, I'm leaving. So, but it is a lot easier when you actually register for classes. There's little step-by-step instructions like, oh, you need to do or complete your holds, and each step that you need to do is actually being highlighted as you're registering for classes. So now it's so much easier, and it gives you each step.
Well, thank you very much, Mikhail. I thought it was a last question, but I have one more question that I think I need to ask you. Suppose I am not computer savvy, but I have a smartphone, and I know how to use my smartphone. And I'm pretty sure most people today know how to use a smartphone. Would I be able to do all that on my smartphone?
Yes, actually you would. The new and improved system makes it easy on any device. I've actually tested it on my iPad and on my phone because I've helped a couple of my friends sign up for classes, and I did it all on my iPad and my iPhone, and it gave you the step-by-step instructions and highlighted everything you needed to do in order. Mm-hmm. So it makes it so much easier.
What if I don't speak English very well? I don't understand English that well. How would that be helpful?
In Rocky the Ram, you can actually change the language settings in it. And I believe in registration, you can change the language settings as well to accommodate.
Okay, well, Michaela, thank you very much. I wish you plenty of success. And I am sad that we couldn't provide you with a system that was, I would not say as easy as it is today, but with a system that was less hard when you were a student with us. But again, I thank you very much, and I wish you best of luck. And please come back and be a role model for the students at City College. All right. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you. I would like to thank Vice Chancellor Wilkins and also Associate Vice Chancellor Ellen Reyes and Director Rosie Zepeda for all the work that they have done to make this possible. The next thing I want to talk about is the return to campus. You know, there has been a great push across the state for a return to campus. But you will notice that the great push for 100% in-person campus instruction has been mostly for the K-12. The four-year institutions are under pressure to have more classes on campus in the fall semester. But as of now, not too many schools will be more than 50% in person in the fall semester. We are doing everything we can at City College to match or to surpass what the Baton colleges are doing and what the four-year institutions are doing. You do know that trustees Selby and Chisti had co-authored a resolution that they brought to the board in April, and we were able to have that resolution delayed to the June meeting, because that will give us an opportunity to see the results of a survey that went out last week for students, to ask them about their preference. And we hope that participation will be very high. And my understanding is that the survey closed last Friday or Saturday. And the results, if you want, are being tallied right now. And we will have an update of that in the next few days. A similar survey went out to faculty and to staff. So Vice Chancellor Tom Vogel has been working diligently with department chairs and faculty to figure out how we can have classes on campus in the fall semester. We know there are many questions, and we don't have answers to all the questions that you might have, because we are in a completely different world, a world where many of the questions that we would ask, we don't even know what they are. Okay. You may be reminded perhaps of, there are things we know of Donald Rumsfeld, for those of you who remember Donald Rumsfeld. There are things we know, there are things we don't know, there are things we don't know we don't know. And those things we don't know pop up just like that. All right? So we will do our best to provide you with that. We know we have concerns about the classrooms. We know that the health of our students, the health of our faculty, the health of our staff is more important than many other things that we're doing. We would not want our institution to be, if you want, at the center of an outbreak. We would not want to jeopardize the health and safety of anybody coming to our campus. So those are some of the guidelines, some of the parameters that we are following as we prepare the campus for opening. Vice Chancellor Vogel, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Sure. Thank you so much. As the Chancellor mentioned, we are planning on a mixture of in-person and remote classes for the fall semester. Where we are right now, I think we're going to be somewhere between 25% and a third in person, with the remainder of the courses being remote. Students that are interested in finding out whether a particular class is planned to be in person or remote can look at what's indicated under the campus column for the classes that they're looking at. If you see a campus that matches up with one of our actual physical campuses, like Ocean or John Adams, that's a class that we're planning to be in person. If it says remote or online, then that's a class that's remote or online. We had, as the Chancellor mentioned, we had a student survey that went out to do some assessment of how willing are students and eager are students to being in person. We got 1,600 responses to that survey, so that's a good number, and we'll come out with the results of that soon. And also for the faculty and staff that might be, and administrators that might be on the call here today, there is that employee survey that's come out as well. So please do fill that out. We did have a good conversation with AFT earlier this week about return to campus. in terms of the planning, we are following our current return to campus planning processes that we've had in place for over a year now in planning for the fall semester. That planning process itself is an iterative design process. And so, for departments that are planning that may say, well, I'm not exactly sure exactly how this will work. Well, that's part of what the return to campus planning process is for us to have a conversation and do some space assessment and figure out, okay, if this is the class that you're looking to do, and this is where we're looking to do it, how's that gonna work? I know that we are all anxious to find out what the state comes out with on June 15th. We've all been reading eagerly the paper and the governor's plans with June 15th. We're going to keep an eye on that as well and see what kind of restrictions ease up. But I am at this point not anticipating a significant change in what we're going to do in terms of the fall semester. Based on what happens on June 15th. We are going to start planning the spring of 22 semester in late August, early September, and I'm confident that we will have a much clearer picture of our public health situation by then, and that we will be able to confidently plan a spring of 22 that is much more like what our pre-pandemic schedule looked like. So that's a quick summary of where we're at with the campus. Thank you, Chancellor.
Thank you very much, Vice Chancellor Vogel. You want to say a few words about, do you have some enrollment numbers for summer?
Summer is very highly enrolled. We have actually our current enrollment for summer is exceeding what our target enrollment was. So that's very exciting. We are the summer enrollment is looking very strong. Fall enrollment started 2 days ago, so still too early to tell where that's going because we're only about 48 hours into fall enrollment.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. The next item that I want to touch a little bit over would be budget and finance. Vice Chancellor Alamin is here, and if you can just briefly, Vice Chancellor Alamin, tell us a little bit where we are with the budget assumptions and also a little bit an update on the HERF funds and so on.
Certainly, Chancellor. Good afternoon, everyone. The current budget update, we're currently processing or in year-end close. We have a number of outstanding items that we are still resolving. We're hoping that we will end this fiscal year at least close to balancing and not anticipating a significant deficit, but we are hoping that we will close near what our anticipated revenue target is, which is roughly about $176 million for this year. One of the things that occurred out of May Revise, which was a good thing for us, is that May Revise for the proposed budget for next fiscal year is proposing a COLA to cover both this year and the next fiscal year. The proposed COLA would assist the college by allowing us to cover a projected deficit factor that we have this year for revenue, which would allow us to be on target in terms of our expected expenditures for the year. So that was a good thing for us. Next year's budget also anticipates providing funding that will allow us to deal with deferred maintenance. It's an item which we have not been able to fund within our budget for several years. So next year's budget does have some optimism. There still, however, are a number of things that we have in our assumptions for next year which haven't changed. We still have a number of, we're waiting for additional concessions and potential cost savings for next year to help us mitigate, which is still a multi-million-dollar budget deficit that we still will roll over for the 22-23 fiscal year, which is still in the mid-20s, $30 million range. So we're hoping that with some sustainable changes, we'll get that in the future. HERF funds, We currently are working on doing a survey to get information from the campus and community regarding our use of the HERF refund. As you're aware, earlier this past January, the American Relief Act, shortly after President Biden took office, the American Relief Act provided additional funding for community colleges. Our portion of the new allocation is roughly $28 million, which will provide $14 million in aid to students. And the remainder is to be used for institutional purposes. So we'll be taking information that we get from the survey in order to develop a plan to expend those dollars to meet anticipated needs, not only for the next fiscal year, but until the expiration of the funds, which is looking at the 2023 year. So we currently have that in progress. And for the most part, we're just looking to end this year on a successful note. So with that, Chancellor, I have no further update.
Well, thank you very much. We'll move on to student affairs. Many things have been happening in student affairs. And perhaps we have not broadcast that enough. And I will ask Vice Chancellor Lisa Cooper Wilkins, to tell us a little bit some of the interesting things that we have done to outreach to students, to help students on campus with counseling help, registration help, financial aid help, everything. So please, Vice Chancellor Lisa Wilkins.
Yeah, I'm really proud to share a lot of the great work that's being done in student affairs across the whole division. I'll start with admissions and records. They have been really hard at work ensuring that they have regular workshops for students, and not only in English, but in multiple languages, Spanish, Cantonese, and Mandarin. Those workshops are to help students apply and register here at the college, and they happen every Monday and Wednesday for students. You've also already heard a lot about all of the registration improvements, and they were a partner with admissions and records in helping to ensure that those updates to the student portal and college scheduler occur to help improve the student experience during registration. And they continue to be a big part of helping the chatbot be successful and answering questions that help make the Rocky the RAM chatbot smarter. And so they will continue to do that. In outreach, we're excited. This week is Frisco Week. It started yesterday and will continue through Friday. And that is where we provide support to the San Francisco Unified School District seniors to assist them with priority registration. We have over 1,100 students that have applied for fall and summer. And we're still working on getting all of those students the counseling appointments that they need. And we have to give thanks to over 100 volunteers, not just from our college, but also from the school district and local community organizations, as they are also assisting with this effort to get our graduating seniors registered. And then, of course, we partner across the college with assistance from the Metro program, EOPS, student ambassadors. They've all helped engage in a phone campaign to help students make their counseling appointments so that they're not going to miss a beat in the registration process. So thank you to everyone who supported that. In counseling, they have partnered with the ESL department to offer what are called steps to credit presentations. Many classroom presentations were done with the partnership of the ESL department. So thank you, ESL faculty, for that. Also, steps to credit workshops, also to help non-credit students transition and navigate the process, are also being held in, again, English, Spanish, and Chinese. There were 2 listen and learn sessions offered about how to use MyRAM more effectively, and we had over 200 faculty and staff participate. So again, thank all of you who made the time to be there. And counseling also continues to offer virtual counter service, not just for the Ocean campus, but the other sites as well. Monday through Thursdays, time frames throughout the day up until 5 p.m. We still have counseling appointments available to help students with their ed planning, to plan their schedules for fall, summer and fall registration. There is also a non-credit counseling virtual help counter. So again, to help support our non-credit students, particularly during the in-person registration dates. There's an effort to make sure there are continued hours for that. And also those same counselors and members of the counseling team, the staff there, are also partnering to help make Frisco Week as successful as we can possibly make it. In our student engagement and wellness area, our associated student resource centers are continuing to host drop-in hours to help their fellow students through the registration process. So thank you, students. Student activity staff are signed up also to volunteer for Frisco Week and to help support our local high school students in getting registered. And the associated students are going to host their turnover retreat. We're excited for all the new officers who will be taking over. And so right after commencement, they will have that retreat. So congratulations, new officers. And then finally, through our Office of Financial Aid, as you already have heard previously, all of the HERF funds have already been successfully distributed. But now the emergency funds, the application for students to apply for those $500 emergency grants closes today. To date, over 2,000 students have applied, and after their eligibility is determined through whatever the state criteria is, those distributions of those grants will happen no later than June 7th, and we're hoping that they will happen a lot sooner. So
thank you very much. Well, thank you very much, Vice Chancellor Wilkins. The fact that you don't see many things doesn't mean that things are not happening. The college is doing a lot in outreach, in marketing, to increase that enrollment. Next thing I want to mention Mr. David James, who is the auditor, who reports directly to the Chancellor and has a dotted line to the board. He has completed several studies on salaries and so on. And he just completed the salaries of faculty at City College. Their gross earnings, excluding benefits, the gross earnings of faculty, full-time and part-time at City College, excluding benefits, compared to the Bay 10 area and compared to the whole state. And that document will be made public within the next 10 days or so, the salaries of faculty, full-time and part-timers, their gross earnings. After that, he's currently working on the classified salaries right now. And likewise, we will be looking at the salaries with the comparison with the Bay 10 areas and the state of California. So that's where we are with. Also, since many faculty and staff have mentioned that, they've talked about how come projects are taken to the board over budget, or the board is approving documents brought to the board for payment without the board having approved the projects. There are a few things I want to make clear here. City College is a governmental agency. Under Ed Code, Labor Code, state law, any contractor that starts work at City College or at the city or anywhere that is public, a government agency, any contractor that starts a job that has not been approved by the board will never get paid. They cannot even sue the college, even if they've completed the work. Let's assume company Y won the bid to paint the college, but that project has not been approved by the board with an amount on it. But company Y had started working already and spent $55,000 already. Well, I'll tell you one thing, you won't believe it. Company Y knows it too. Company Y is not going to be paid $55,000 because the board had never approved that project, right? That's one thing that you all have to remember. in a governmental agency, if a contract has not been approved by the board and the company has been working on that project, that work will not be paid if that contract is not approved by the board. That company will have lost that amount of money. That's one thing. The second thing, I have asked Mr. James to work closely with finance, budget, purchasing, and so on, to take a look at what is coming to the board for approval. I don't think he'll be able to do all of them, but he's an expert in that field. He understands the sampling and random sampling and so on. So he is going to do some testing on that and see if the projects that are being brought to the board are projects that have been budgeted for, if the source of funds had already been identified. And I've also asked the vice chancellors to make sure that whatever is leaving their area with an amount to be paid, that has been verified by the area, that the money is there, that they are not sending stuff to purchasing without making sure that they have the funds to cover it. And I have asked the vice chancellors to make sure that the administrators and managers that oversee those budgets are held accountable for that. Okay, so that is something that will be happening, if not in June, but definitely in August. July, as you know, is a dark month, so nothing happens in July. There will not be a meeting. So that's where we are with what Mr. James has been doing. As far as securing funds for the college, the board president, the vice president of the board, myself, and senior staff have had multiple meetings with supervisors and other people to figure out how we can get help. And I think I may have shared with you that initially we were asked to submit a project. We did. It was $15 million. Then we were told, well, that wasn't going anywhere. Instead, it would be a $15 million worth project. Then we were told that wasn't going anywhere either, because you got, not all board members were in support of it. One board member had tied the vote to the college guarantee that 1550 Evans will happen. But we can't guarantee that this is going to happen. We have attorneys working on it. And the bond attorney, the attorney who emits a bond opinion, is not, if you want, directly a college attorney. He emits an opinion for the bond, and that opinion is what will make people buy the bond. So if he emits an opinion that is in contradiction with the law of California and with the laws that govern the selling of bonds, in the case like the bonds that were passed for the college, he runs in trouble of getting himself in hot water. So this thing is taking a little bit longer. And which was for that reason that we had a resolution, a second resolution passed by the Board of Trustees of City College. And hopefully we're moving in the right direction. And I have met with the mayor 2 times already, and I will be meeting with the board or with the mayor again in 2 weeks to give the mayor an update, a personal update of where we are and what we have done at the college to be self-sufficient and independent. So that's where we are with some of the information that I had wanted to share with you about the college. And the remaining 20 minutes or so, I will be happy to answer your questions. And if I can't answer them, I have Deputy Chancellor Gonzalez here and all the vice chancellors who will provide you with the answers. Sean?
Thank you, Chancellor. So now's that time of the event for if anyone would like to ask the Chancellor or the executive staff here a question, please go ahead and raise your hand. You can find that option in the bottom left-hand corner, the little raise hand icon. Once we see your hand raised, I'll go ahead and call on you. So our first person, Leslie Simon.
Hi, so thank you so much, Chancellor, for the report and the postcard project, which I'm very excited about. I came in a little late. I have two quick questions. Will the postcard be mailed to all San Francisco households? Is that the plan?
If that's my understanding, is that the postcard will go out to all the zip codes in San Francisco, to all the households that are listed with the post office.
That's terrific. The second quick question, a little bit longer though, will it include a message that alerts recipients, people who get the postcard, to the relief incentives available to students who take a specified course load? In other words, if they take a certain amount of units, they can get relief funding for laptops or grocery cards or cash awards. Will there be information, very quick information, that they can find on our website? Will that be on the card, do you know?
I cannot answer that question because there is a committee consisting of faculty, staff, and administrators that is working on what will be on that postcard. So that's all I can tell you. Now, I can also tell you that it will have a QR code leading people directly to the college site with then access to Rocky the Ram and our chatbot, and also to other information showing how easy it is to register at City College.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Ilona. Ilona, go ahead. You can unmute your mic now.
Oh, hi, good afternoon, Chancellor and Vice Chancellors. I have a question about the COLA. I heard Vice Chancellor Al-Amin mention that the COLA would be used to offset any deficits that we have. So I just want clarity that that means that the COLA will not be passed through to employees. Is that we won't get a COLA this year?
Well, I will give you an answer, and then I will ask Vice Chancellor Al-Amin to provide an answer.
Thank you.
The COLA is not really a pay raise. Okay, so that's the first thing I'll tell you, and then I'll ask Vice Chancellor Al-Amin to expand on that answer. Vice Chancellor.
Yeah, I mean, that has a right to retain it or to pass it through, and so that's really what I'm.
Vice Chancellor Al-Amin.
Sure, certainly. Dean McGriff, good afternoon. Part of when we say pass through, now in some cases COLA is passed through and it's added on and it's made available as part of normal, I guess, if you will, salary or bargaining issues. In this particular case for us, the COLA, we have a deficit factor each year that is computed based upon the anticipated revenue, state revenue, property taxes, and the like. And a lot of districts some have a deficit factor, some don't. This year for us, our deficit factor was over 2%, and it amounted to reaching about $3.2 million. The problem, I won't say the problem, but when we budgeted this year in terms of our revenue, we included the deficit factor amount. So in other words, we would have been short revenue roughly about $3.2 million. The proposed COLA that is being proposed for this year would cover that deficit factor amount so that we basically would be whole in terms of revenue. And in terms for next year, if the projection is the same, then the 1.7%, which is roughly about $2 million, would need to be applied first to the deficit factor to lower and reduce the amount of any potential deficit for next year.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you, Dean McGriff. Thank you.
All right,
Tom.
next up we have Fred. Fred, go ahead. You can unmute your mic.
Good afternoon, Chancellor and crew. Many San Franciscans are used to browsing through a catalog. Is it possible for the college to add a PDF search function to the website so you can actually just browse through the class offerings for the semester? And can that be done quickly? Thank you.
My understanding, Mr. Mulheim, is that such a project is underway, but because of the size of the PDF, it will be broken into 2 or 3 sections. Oh, is that, and that, Vice Chancellor Vogel, is that your understanding?
Yes, I'll mention that our recent agreement between the district and AFT obliges the district to publishing a PDF version of the schedule of classes. One of the things that we have to be mindful of in this publication is that all of our PDFs that we publish online have to be ADA accessible. And so it's taken us a minute to work up this process, but trust me, we are working on this diligently and expect to have something up online for the fall with the fall semester schedule soon. Thank you.
Thank you for that update.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mulheim.
All right, next up, we have Thomaseda. Thomaseda, go ahead. You can unmute your mic now.
Good afternoon. I'm really glad you had this. Thank you. I have 4 questions at least, or suggestions. The first one is, would you please put the schedule and some of the other colleges in the Bay Area on the postcard that they sent out on the Q code, if that's what you call it, it leads to the actual schedule. And so I'm suggesting that you put that on the postcard. And also, I would like to know if the postcard will tell people how they can walk in to a registration site. I would like to strongly suggest, if it's not already planned, that every school, campus, or center have a staffed with a counselor place where people can walk in and just register, because we have heard too many stories about people just finding it, it's impossible up until yesterday to navigate the online registration system. And there are people who have a right to take a class who may not be computer savvy, maybe the people who are who speak other languages and who want to take classes, so will you please put on the information where people can walk in and register and on what dates they can do that. And also I would like to suggest that you appeal directly to Mayor Bree for supplemental funding. We don't need to go through the Board of Supervisors, because we understand. And because we have personal relationships and can have, I would like to ask you if you could just ask her, she's got a big budget, she's got a surplus, she has federal funds coming in. She could just, assign $15 million or $30 million to City College just with the flick of her wrist, or just sign something and just add it to the budget. She doesn't have, you don't have to get 8 supervisors with a veto-proof veto. She has no business vetoing it anyway, because City College is the economic engine of the city. This is where everybody learns the profession that they're practicing. Without City College, what would business do? All enterprise would collapse, because nobody would be trained to do anything. So it's in her interest to make sure that we have a full schedule. So you could just talk to Mayor Bree directly and say what I just said: we're the economic engine that makes you look good. If the economy collapses because nobody's trained to do anything, then that makes you look bad. So would you please just add $30 million to your budget and just give it to City College? It doesn't have to go through the Board of Supervisors. So I'm asking you to please appeal to her directly, for her to directly rescue whatever needs to be rescued. But the other final thing I'd like to ask is, if you recall, at the last of these meetings, 3 of the department chairmen from Butmolly Hall told you, I think that you seemed to be surprised that they had no windows or stuck windows in their classrooms. So clearly we need ventilation systems installed at Butmolly Hall, but also we need, before the school can open, there has to be adequate ventilation in every classroom. And so I'm wondering, not to use all these other funds, but there's special funds that are coming from the federal government that are COVID-19 relief funds. And it seems that those funds would be appropriate to be used to upgrade the ventilation systems or install new ventilation systems in every classroom on campuses? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Medal. We have taken note of everything that you have said to us, and our teams will be working on everything that you've said and figure out how we can maybe adjust what we're doing, but we will address them. Okay.
All right. I'll take a last call for hands because right now I don't see any more hands. So if there are no more questions, we'll take a last call for hands. I see one more right there. Oh, who was that? Dr. Nunley, go ahead.
All right.
Thank you. Sa'ubona, Chancellor. Thank you for ensuring a platform was set to address the concerns related to the African American Studies Department. We followed your recent instructions to turn anniversaries into actions, and thanks to the hard work and sacrifice of many known and unknown, we made progress. That progress was short-lived and interrupted, rightfully or wrongfully, as a trick designed only to silence and divert eyes away from historical anti-Blackness. Now, given the reality of the impact of racial trauma that I and other faculty of color are subjected to, and the systemic anti-Blackness at CCSF, I cannot afford to embrace the thinking that it was a trick. I must believe that you were sincere, and so I'm saying to you, Black and brown faculty still cannot breathe. I find respite in the African proverb that sticks in a bundle are unbreakable. I give thanks to the Africans and non-Africans that have gathered to ensure that what you gave us an audience to do will continue. I end as I began with the isiZulu words, Giyabonga, which means thank you, Chancellor, and Hambagashe, which means go well, and lastly, Salagashe, which means stay well. That's it.
Well, thank you, Dr. Nunley. Don't go away. What you've said is a little bit cryptic or enigmatic to me. I am not in the business of baiting and switching, or switching and exactly how it goes. I am trying to understand what it is that we gave that we are taking away.
Oh, okay. All right. So what you did for us, and thank you. You gave the platform permission for us to actually engage in making sure that the AFAM department, existed, et cetera, et cetera. And I really, really appreciate that. And not just me, all of us. Okay. But now what's happening in the fall is everything's gotten cut back again. And the 3 part-time Black faculty that we had, they're not going to be there. And so, so that's like, wow. And so there are many of us who think, you know what, see, it wasn't real, but I can't afford to think like that. I have to believe that, that's not going to happen, and that you were sincere, because I think if you really didn't mean, you would not have allowed the platform to happen. So
no, I was very sincere in what I did. And I know I got a question about that this morning, and Vice Chancellor Vogel explained what happened. And his explanation was, I did not see anything that would lead one to believe that we were not sincere in what we were doing. Vice Chancellor Vogel, you want to very briefly address that, or?
Just keep an eye on the time here. Very briefly, we have provided, our structural budgeting for next academic year has been a challenging thing to work through this whole academic year, this whole semester. We had some, as we approached and ultimately were successful in collaborating on a agreement with AFT. Overall college-wide, we are going to run a smaller schedule next year. Not as small as what was initially contemplated back at the beginning of February, but still an overall schedule that is budget limited, that is going to be about 10 or 12% smaller than what we're running this academic year. And so we've taken some great pains to try to mitigate the impact of that on many of our departments. There were some temporary increases that happened in certain areas this year as a part of our as part of our enrollment process. Our agreement with AFT allows for us, and in fact requires us, to provide some budget to deans to add additional classes based on enrollment. I'm looking forward to that, and I know that we have some opportunity for 22 or even more increases in instructional budgets once we see how first quarter actual expenses go, and once the district adopts and the board adopts a final budget for next year.
Thank you.
Did I understand it correctly, VC, that so no for the fall, but we'll see for the spring? And if that's what you said, I think you did, but correct me if I'm wrong, but if that's what you said, the problem is there's 3 Black faculty members that are they're not going to have a job. And what happens is they will leave. And we have funders that are like waiting to help fund our department, the AFAM department. I'm from Child Development, but the AFAM department. And so that goes, I think maybe a longer conversation is needed. Than holding everybody up.
Dr. Nunley, we will have Vice Chancellor Vogel work with everybody so that we can reach a resolution to anything that currently may seem to be troubling. Okay, thank you again. Thank you.
And you go well and take care of yourself. And wherever you go, if I want to come and visit, you got to invite me. Okay. Bye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
I hope you have a good summer.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Well, we thank you, everybody, for showing up today. And again, I mean, if there is a need for it, we will have one in June. Otherwise, this will be my last forum with all of you. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to be at City College of San Francisco during this year. All right, and good luck to all of you, and have a great Wednesday afternoon. We'll be seeing you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.